will begin with some words from me. And I want to thank everybody who sang and led prayers this morning. It is truly a blessing to hear you all really singing your hearts out. And I just so appreciate how you have been able to show up, even in complicated circumstances, even when what you are singing to is a computer or a webcam or a phone. It really feels like you're singing to us. So I just want to thank you for everything that you're putting into really making these services special. All right, now some thoughts from me. So once again, I'm Rabbi Hannah Leslie Glazer. For those who came in later, I'm your new rabbi at Adat Re'im, and I am just delighted to be with you this morning on our new year. It just feels like such a special moment to be together. So I'm excited. When I interviewed here, I was happy to discover that this community has both traditional and progressive observance of Judaism, because I love them both, and I would be sad to give one or the other up personally. In traditional Judaism, we celebrate 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, and one of the benefits of celebrating those 2 days, which you will also get to experience if you come for both days of the holiday this year, which I invite you to do, if you spend the 2 days, is that you have extra time to really dig in to some of these concepts and the ideas and the spiritual work. On the first day, last night and also today, we're still getting our sea legs back, if you want to call it that. We dust off the prayer books. We have a lot of remembering to do, the sounds of our prayers, the sounds of the holidays, Unatana Tokef, Avinu Malkeinu, which we won't get until tomorrow. Remembering how the songs feel and how the prayers sound. Remembering the terms of the season, like Teshuvah. Grappling with that whole book of life thing. What is that anyway? We'll talk about that some more, of course. We take in that sense of greater community that we get in the holidays. For some, it's different to be attending prayers at all. And now, of course, we have also taken everything online. So by the second day, presumably you've gotten your sea legs a little bit better already, and we can be a little bit more explicit and concrete, and we can go a little deeper into the themes of the holiday. And that will be tomorrow at our spirit service. And then, of course, on Saturday, next Saturday, there is Shabbat Shuvah. We can explore these themes even more before we come to Yom Kippur next Sunday night. And we are ready, we hope, to take an honest and brave inventory of our hearts, of wrongs that we may have committed, and get clear about how to right them. But that, of course, is later on. And today we are just getting started. And I think this year in particular, we must tread more gently overall. Today, I want to talk about the bigger picture, specifically the idea of turning. On the first day of Rosh Hashanah, we celebrate the new year, and we open our minds and hearts to the turning that it brings. In Judaism, we have a Hebrew language term for turning, and that is teshuvah. Now, you may already be aware the word teshuvah most often gets translated as repentance. There is an element of turning in the act of repentance. You're driving in one direction, you realize you've gone the wrong way, and then you turn your car or bicycle or Segway or scooter or whatever you're in at the moment, and you go in the right direction. It's repentance. And when you think about the themes of taking stock of our lives and making adjustments like that, that makes sense. We turn in the right direction. But there's more to it than that. Generally, we see repentance as a word that implies one fixed path, something that went wrong and it requires fixing, and we know what we have to do and where we have to go. But turning is a broader, more ample concept. And I would argue that there's less clarity there, more room for ambiguity. You could be turning in the right direction or the wrong direction, or you could make one wrong turn and then get back in track. You could make 3 correct turns and then 1 wrong turn, which brings you to the right neighborhood, but not to the right place. Or you could just keep turning and then it becomes spinning in one spot. And in the moment, in this moment, especially in such upside down times, might we even know the difference? So I think this year, even thinking about repentance is going to be very challenging, and it's tender. And I just want to name that right now. Think about it. We've been locked in with our families for the last 6 months. We are doing this to avoid a deadly and very scary epidemic that is tearing through the world, that is on track to kill 250,000 people in our country alone, perhaps even before the end of this year. Not to mention the rising tension of the election season. And we all know that in these times, it can be so easy to lose one's emotional center over politics. For those who care about human rights and the welfare of others, hearing the news on any given day right now can often be heart-wrenching and painful, or it enrages us. So our anxiety levels and our anger are through the roof, and we are locked in with our families, denied our routines, and many of the things that we use to blow off steam. And then even the best family relationships can be strained. But whose fault is that? Really, whose fault is that? How do we even talk about repentance in this moment? It's tender. It's tender. So I'd like to suggest that we go back to our basics, our touchstone that we come back to every year, and that is teshuvah. We go back to its root, which is turning, returning. There's a song with lyrics by Shana Knoll. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. How do we return? It's simple, and we know how to do this because it's what we Jews do every year. We gather together in community and we say these same prayers and we hold our hands for support and we take a deep breath and then we look inside. And whatever we find there, we take another deep breath and we hold a little more tightly onto the hands of our loved ones and we face it. Whatever it is, we face it together. And we remember who we are inside. We remember the land of the soul. Because once we turn, and I mean even just the smallest little bit, I believe we can already make changes in our lives, and that even little steps that any of us take can also have an impact on others and inspire them to turn as well. I believe that when we turn in the right direction, that God meets us and helps draw us forward. If you don't believe in God, you could also think of this as the forces of nature, like inertia. Once something has been put in motion in a particular direction, it also continues in that direction. Our scientists hopefully will forgive anything that I may have oversimplified here. But that's the way I experience it, especially at this time of year. Once we make a turn, once we begin on this journey, we somehow find that we gather more strength to continue that we didn't know we had. And it can be that simple. Some of you may be wondering where God has been this year. Wondering if God has been absent while all these people have been dying from COVID. Absent while we have been locked in and separated from our friends and our loved ones. Absent while wildfires are burning across the West. Absent while racial injustice is tragically taking too many lives. It's a lot. And while we are holding that tender question about where God has been this year, you may be listening to me right about now, and you may be having serious doubts about how this whole turning thing is actually going to work. Alternately, you may be so angry at God for this year that you can't even think about it. And I just want to say it's okay. We are going to tread gently, and we are going to take it slow. And that's why I believe that the best way in for us right now is to think about turning and returning, returning to us, to remember that the land of our soul is still there and it still matters. It still matters even when the kids are wrapping the dog in plastic wrap while you are trying to have a serious conversation. The land of our soul is still there. Even just a little turn inward, even just a small opening of our hearts to the love and compassion and mercy that I believe is available to every one of us in this world, can bring us closer to reconnecting with the divine spark that resides in each of us, that my favorite Jewish mystical rabbis believe is there always, and that it lights each of us from the inside every single day. It can also help us remember that the divine spark that resides also in everybody else. And once we see that you and I are indeed connected, and that this is something sacred and lasting and real that connects us, then we can take a deep breath and take the hands of our loved ones and take a few more steps into that direction of where we need to go. There is a way in this year. I know it, and I know we can find it. We'll find it together. Tomorrow for day 2, we will have a Torah discussion rather than a sermon, and we'll be talking about God issues there. Please join us. Don't miss that. For now, let's simply welcome the turning and all that it has to offer us. Because folks, 5780 is gone and done, and it is time for a new year. And I have been calling it a brave new year. Whatever it brings, let's be brave. Let's hold each other's hands and be brave. And we'll face it together. Shana Tova.